Welcome to this lesson on the goal-setting paradox. Today we're going to explore a counterintuitive phenomenon. Setting smaller goals often produces larger achievements than setting big, ambitious goals. The goal-setting paradox is a fascinating psychological and behavioral phenomenon. It states that breaking large objectives into smaller micro-goals creates more powerful motivation and higher achievement rates than focusing solely on the big picture. Traditional wisdom tells us to set big, ambitious goals. Dream big, reach for the stars. But what if this approach is actually less effective than we think? The paradox reveals that smaller, incremental goals often lead to bigger achievements. This seems backwards, but there's solid science behind it. So why does this work? Let's dive into the neuroscience and behavioral psychology that explains this phenomenon. When you achieve a goal, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that creates feelings of pleasure and motivation. Each small win triggers a dopamine release. Here's how the reinforcement loop works. You set a goal, take action, achieve a win, get a dopamine release, and this motivates you to set another goal. The cycle repeats and compounds. Each micro win strengthens the behavior pattern. Your brain learns that taking action leads to rewards, making it easier to take action in the future. Now let's look at the mathematics behind this phenomenon. Small wins compound over time in powerful ways. Here's an important question. How do small improvements compound over time? Let me show you with a concrete mathematical example. Let's say you improve by just 1% each day. That seems tiny, almost negligible. But let's calculate what happens over a year. If you improve by 1% each day for 365 days, you multiply 1.01 by itself 365 times. The result is 37.8. You become nearly 38 times better than when you started. That's a 3,778% improvement in just 1 year from daily 1% gains. This is the power of compound growth. Now let's look at the opposite scenario. What happens if you get 1% worse each day instead? If you decline by 1% daily, you multiply 0.99 by itself 365 times. The result is 0.026. You end up at just 2.6% of your starting ability. This demonstrates that small daily actions, whether positive or negative, have massive long-term effects through the power of compounding. Let's examine some scientific research that supports this paradox. Harvard Business School professor Teresa Amabile conducted extensive research on what motivates people at work. Amabile and her team analyzed 12,000 diary entries from knowledge workers across 7 different companies. They wanted to identify what factors most strongly predicted motivation and performance. The finding was stunning. The single most important factor that predicted high motivation and positive emotions was making progress in meaningful work, even if that progress was small. Even tiny steps forward boosted motivation more than setting big, ambitious plans. The researchers called this the progress principle. Let's apply this to scientific research projects. How can researchers use the goal-setting paradox to be more productive? The traditional approach is to aim for a groundbreaking paper. A researcher might set a goal like publish a Nature paper that revolutionizes the field. This is inspiring but also overwhelming. Instead, break it down into micro goals. Read 1 paper today, write 100 words, run 1 small experiment. Each of these is achievable and provides a dopamine hit when completed. The paradox approach focuses on daily micro goals. Each small achievement builds momentum and compounds over time. Let me give you a concrete timeline. Instead of year-long goal of breakthrough publication, set daily goals. Days 1 through 30. Read 2 papers daily and take detailed notes. That's 60 papers read, building deep domain knowledge. Days 31 through 60. Write 500 words daily on your literature review. That's 15,000 words, a complete comprehensive review. Days 61 through 90. Design and run 1 pilot experiment each week. That's 4 pilot experiments with iterative learning. After 90 days with micro goals, you have 60 papers read, a complete literature review, and 4 pilot experiments done. Compare this to 90 days of staring at the big goal and feeling overwhelmed. There's another psychological phenomenon at play here called the Zeigarnik effect. This explains why micro-goals are so powerful. The Zeigarnik effect states that incomplete tasks occupy more mental space than completed ones. Your brain remembers unfinished business. Big goals stay incomplete for months or years. During all that time, they create cognitive load and stress. Your brain constantly reminds you of the unfinished goal. Micro-goals get completed daily. Each completion provides psychological closure and frees up mental resources. You can fully celebrate the win and move to the next micro-goal. Now let's apply the goal-setting paradox to entrepreneurial startups. This is where the paradox becomes especially powerful. The traditional startup goal is to build a billion-dollar company, become a unicorn, disrupt an entire industry. This is the Silicon Valley dream. The problem is, this goal is too distant to drive daily action. It doesn't tell you what to do today. It creates analysis paralysis. Instead, think of the journey as a series of micro milestones. Each milestone is visible from the previous one. You can see the next step clearly. The paradox approach asks, what's one assumption I can validate this week? This is concrete and actionable. Week 1. Interview 10 potential customers. This is a clear, achievable goal that provides immediate learning. Week 2. Build a minimum feature prototype, just one core feature that demonstrates the concept. Week 3. Get 5 users to test the prototype and collect detailed feedback. Week 4. Iterate based on feedback. Choose one key metric and improve it by any measurable amount. Each week provides clear wins and learning. You build momentum. You gather real data. You make progress that compounds. Let me introduce you to a mathematical model of motivation that explains why micro-goals work so well. The motivation equation states that motivation equals expectancy times value divided by impulsiveness times delay. Let me break down each component. Expectancy is how likely you think success is. If you believe you can achieve the goal, expectancy is high. Value is how rewarding the goal is to you personally. Higher value means more motivation. Delay is how far away the reward is in time. The further away, the less motivating. Impulsiveness is your tendency to get distracted by other things. Higher impulsiveness decreases motivation. Now let's see how micro goals maximize this motivation equation compared to big goals. For a big goal like publish in Nature, expectancy might be low because it's hard to achieve. The delay is months or years. These factors divide motivation significantly. For a micro goal like read one paper today, expectancy is very high because it's definitely achievable. The delay is just hours. This maximizes motivation. Let's calculate. Say a big goal has expectancy of 0.2, value of 10, impulsiveness of 1, and delay of 365 days. Motivation equals 0.0055, very low. A micro goal has expectancy of 0.9, value of 3, impulsiveness of 1, and delay of 1 day. Motivation equals 2.7, nearly 500 times higher motivation. The micro goal is 500 times more motivating according to this mathematical model. This is why small goals produce bigger achievements. Let me give you an analogy that makes this concept crystal clear. Think about climbing a mountain. Imagine climbing Mount Everest. You don't stare at the summit and just start walking. You set up intermediate camps. Base camp, Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3. Each camp is a micro goal. You focus on reaching the next camp, not the summit. This keeps motivation high because each goal is visible and achievable from your current position. Each camp provides rest, celebration, and preparation for the next leg. You get the psychological win, you build confidence, then you tackle the next segment. The summit is reached through accumulated micro-wins. No one reaches the top in a single push. It's always a series of smaller achievements that compound. Here's another powerful analogy. Think about how video games are designed. Game designers understand motivation deeply. Video games don't start at maximum difficulty. They have levels. Each level is challenging but achievable. You get immediate feedback and rewards for completing each level. Games provide constant micro-wins and feedback, points, achievements, level-ups. Your brain gets dopamine hits that keep you engaged for hours. Here's an interesting question. Why are games so addictive, but work often isn't? The answer is in the goal structure. Games have clear, immediate micro-goals with instant feedback. Most work doesn't. We set vague long-term goals and wonder why motivation is low. The solution is to gamify your work with micro-milestones. Create your own level system. Give yourself points for daily achievements. Track streaks of consecutive days completing micro-goals. Now let me give you a practical formula for implementing this in your life. It's called the implementation intention formula. The formula is, when this situation happens, I will take this action. This links micro-goals to specific triggers in your environment. Example for research. When I sit at my desk at 9 a.m., I will read one paper for 30 minutes. The situation is 9 a.m. at desk. The action is read one paper. Example for startup. When I finish lunch, I will call 2 potential customers. This removes decision-making. The action is automatic and linked to a daily event. Research shows that implementation intentions increase goal completion rates by 2 to 3 times compared to vague goals. The specificity and trigger create automaticity. Let me give you some real numbers that demonstrate the compound effect of micro goals versus big goals. Consider a PhD student writing their dissertation. Let's compare 2 approaches over 6 months. Approach 1. Set goal to write entire dissertation. This is overwhelming. The student procrastinates, maybe writes intensely for a few days, then burns out. Inconsistent progress. After 6 months of this pattern, maybe they have 20,000 words written, but it's inconsistent quality, and they're stressed. Approach 2. Set micro goal to write exactly 300 words every single day. Just 300 words. Very achievable. 300 words per day times 180 days equals 54,000 words. That's enough for an entire dissertation with room for revision. Plus, the quality is consistent, the stress is much lower, and the habit is sustainable. This is the power of micro goals. An essential component of the goal-setting paradox is feedback loops. Micro goals enable faster feedback. Big goals have slow feedback. You might wait months to find out if your approach is working. By then, you've wasted a lot of time if you were on the wrong path. Micro goals provide feedback within days or even hours. You can quickly adjust your approach based on results. This creates a rapid iteration cycle. Set micro goal, take action, get feedback, adjust goals. This loop can run daily or weekly, enabling fast learning and optimization. Let me give you a practical framework called the 1% rule for implementing micro goals in any domain. Step 1. Identify your target outcome. What's the big achievement you ultimately want? Step 2. Break it into measurable daily actions. What can you do each day that moves you 1% closer? Step 3. Start absurdly small if needed. If 300 words feels too hard, start with 100. If 30 minutes feels too long, start with 10. The goal is consistency, not heroic effort. You want to build the habit of daily progress, not burn out from intense sprints. Example, learning to code. Big goal is become a software developer. Micro goal is write one function each day. Or solve one coding challenge. Just one. After 1 year, you've written 365 functions. You've solved 365 coding challenges. That's a strong foundation for a developer. Now let me address some common objections to this approach. People often resist the idea of small goals. Objection 1. Micro goals seem unambitious. People worry they're not dreaming big enough. Response. Micro goals are not about lack of ambition. They're the most effective path to ambitious outcomes. You still have the big vision, you just break the path into steps. Objection 2. It takes too long to see big results with tiny steps. Response. Remember the compound growth equation. Growth is exponential, not linear. Small daily improvements lead to results much faster than you expect. Objection 3. What about breakthrough innovations? Don't those require big thinking? Response. Even breakthrough innovations emerge from accumulated insights and experiments. Newton didn't discover calculus in one flash. It was years of daily mathematical work. Edison tested thousands of materials for the light bulb filament. Micro experiments. Let me share some real-world success stories that demonstrate the goal-setting paradox in action. Jerry Seinfeld became one of the greatest comedians using micro-goals. His method was simple. Write one joke every day. Mark an X on the calendar. Don't break the chain of X's. James Clear built Atomic Habits, one of the best-selling books on behavior change, by writing one article per week for years. Not trying to write a perfect book, just consistent weekly writing. The book emerged from accumulated insights. Y Combinator, the most successful startup accelerator, teaches launch fast. Don't try to build the perfect product. Build a minimum viable product. Launch it, get one user, then iterate. Micro milestones compound into successful companies. SpaceX didn't try to build the perfect reusable rocket in one shot. They launched, failed, learned, and iterated. Each launch was a micro goal. Test one system. Improve one metric. This led to rockets that land themselves. Let's go deeper into the neuroscience of why micro goals create lasting change through habit formation. Habits form in the basal ganglia, a primitive part of the brain. This is different from the prefrontal cortex, where conscious decision-making happens. Big goals require constant willpower. Every day you have to consciously decide to work toward the distant goal. This uses prefrontal cortex resources, which are limited. Micro goals, repeated consistently, become automatic habits in the basal ganglia. Eventually, you don't need willpower. The action becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth. Research shows habit formation takes 21 to 66 days, depending on the complexity of the behavior. Micro goals are simple enough to become habitual within this window. Once habitual, the behavior costs almost zero willpower. You just do it automatically. This frees up mental resources for other challenges. Now let me give you a step-by-step implementation guide you can use starting today. Step 1. Choose one big goal you've been struggling with, something you've wanted to achieve but keep procrastinating on. Step 2. Define the smallest daily action that moves you forward. Make it so small that it feels almost too easy. If your instinct says it's too small, it's probably the right size. Step 3. Link it to an existing daily trigger using the implementation intention formula. After I drink my morning coffee, I will take this action. Step 4. Track completion with a physical mark. Use a calendar, put an X for each day completed. The visual chain of X's becomes motivating in its. Step 5. Never miss 2 days in a row. Missing one day is okay, life happens. But never miss twice. This prevents the habit from completely falling apart. Step 6. Don't increase the difficulty until you've maintained consistency for 30 days. Let the habit solidify first before making it harder. Let me show you the mathematics of why never missing 2 days in a row is such a powerful rule. Missing one day costs you about 1% of progress. Not a big deal. You can recover easily. Missing 2 days in a row costs about 5%. The habit starts to weaken significantly. Missing 3 or more days costs 20% or more. The habit is effectively broken. You're back to square one using willpower instead of automaticity. This is why the never miss twice rule is so critical. It prevents the catastrophic loss of habit momentum. Let me summarize the key takeaways from this lesson on the goal-setting paradox. Key point 1. Smaller goals create more motivation because they have higher expectancy and lower delay in the motivation equation. Key point 2. Micro wins trigger dopamine releases that create powerful reinforcement loops, making continued action easier. Key point 3. Compound growth means 1% daily improvement becomes 38 times improvement over a year. Key point 4. Micro goals enable rapid feedback and iteration, allowing you to adjust your approach quickly based on results. Key point 5. Consistency beats intensity. Daily micro actions sustained over time produce better results than heroic bursts of effort. The goal-setting paradox is counterintuitive, but backed by neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and real-world evidence from successful people across all domains. Here's your challenge. Implement this starting tomorrow. Pick one goal you care about. Define one micro-action you'll take tomorrow. Make it small. Make it specific. Link it to a trigger. Remember that small wins compound into extraordinary results over time. Trust the process. Trust the mathematics of compound growth.